Hi everyone. A couple days ago I made a video on a new Arrow release, Running Out of Time. And I neglected to mention that Running Out of Time, this Arrow edition, also includes the sequel, Running Out of Time 2, which was made a couple of years later. And I thought, well, the reputation of the sequel that was much inferior to the original. So I thought I probably wouldn't even do a video on it, but after seeing it and going through the supplements and also reading some of the background on Johnny To from a book that I highly recommend if you're interested in Hong Kong cinema by Stephen Tao, a book, Director in Action, which much of the material, the background material that I'm going to be mentioning comes from that book and from the essay that's included in the release. That was the slipcover. This is the cover. It has reversible art, so you can get the slipcover art if you so desire. This came out 2 years after Running Out of Time, which was a big hit for Johnny To. Johnny To co-directed the sequel with Law Wing-chung, and who was the assistant director on the original and had worked with Johnny To in various capacities on many other movies. We bring back Lau Ching-wan as Inspector Ho from the original. Andy Lau is if you see the original, Andy Lau can't come back. So we have Ekin Chang playing the part of his antagonist, the thief, the magician. Andy Lau seemed to have magical qualities and unlimited resources to his escapades in his duel with Inspector Ho, played by Lau Ching-wan. But in the sequel, he is actually a magician and a tightrope walker. He can do anything. He can disappear, come back. What the film lacks is the same sense of suspense of the original, in that we know that Andy Lau is running out of time. We learned it in the first, through medical problems that he has. He's running out of time to execute this elaborate scheme that he has devised. Not so here. We really don't have any idea, why this magician thief is doing what he's doing. And also there was a revenge plot in the original that is not present in the sequel. So his character, even though the actor is very good and he was a big star in both on television and movies and as a pop singer, just as Andy Lau was, but his character is sort of undeveloped. He's sort of like he comes out of the air. He can disappear. His powers seem to be supernatural. But this, again, as the sequel is, this is not anything to do with reality of any sort. I mean, as far as the storyline, the characters go. And so the cat and mouse inspector versus thief relationship develops, a bromance, just as in the original. And in fact, the bromance gets somewhat explicit, as it does in the original, when Andy Lau dresses up as a woman as one of his many different disguises. But here we have Inspector Ho. This is following a very funny and chase sequence that goes on and on, ends with the bicycle chase. The bicycles fall apart as they collide and with cars and with and that's Lau Ching-wan, who slit his pants in one of the accidents, and he looks very alluringly at Ekin Chang, as if he was a woman wearing a dress with a slit. And like I say, the Ekin Chang magician, he has these magical powers. He can jump off rooftops and fall like it's slow motion and know exactly where he's going to land. They have set up a landing spot if somebody falls off the rooftop. So this is this is, and the chase scenes are almost like foreplay to that shot. I mean, he's not, they seem to be living in a world of their own. Their masculinity is being celebrated. They're totally cool. I mean, they're just so cool, and the way they relate to each other, and they're figuring out, and the puzzles that are being set up. And Ekin Cheng is constantly smiling very, very seductively at Inspector Ho. But there's never, but there is a woman in this one, and this is played by Kelly Lynn, and she is the object of the thief, her company, a big-time insurance company about to embark on a multi-billion-dollar merger. I don't know what Hong Kong dollars are, but it's a biggie, and so she's being extorted because, as an insurance company, she is protecting certain relics that have been stolen by this thief magician, and she's willing to pay. So, we see her, and Kelly Lynn was brought up in the U.S. She spoke English, so in the scenes in her company, we do get a bunch of English language dialogue. And as with the original, this is all original sound, so this is very authentic sounding dialogue. There's nothing being dubbed here. So she, as the film goes on, and these different variations of how they're going to pay off this extortion develop, which includes a bald eagle, a CGI bald eagle flies into the plot. She starts to develop some sort of feelings for Inspector Ho, who in the original movie too, he's being pursued somewhat, but it seems to be well known. You cannot penetrate this world of Inspector Ho, this cool masculinity. It could be, the woman could be seen as demasculizing the man, and you want to stay away from that. Now, I've only seen, I think this is my fourth Johnny To movie, so I don't know how widespread it is throughout his films. But Stephen Tao says that this is not, he is not really consciously doing a homoerotic story. He just thinks it's funny for the audience to see these big movie stars dress up as women, or, you know, engage in a sort of bromance. But there is anxiety in this film of another kind, and that is the anxiety of the takeover of Hong Kong in 1999. And the takeover was seeing what's going to happen next. So both films, running out of time, have extended scenes on rooftops. I mean, really high rooftops. I don't even know how they filmed some of these sequences, but they're staring down into abyss. What's going to come? And there is a sense that the Western values that Hong Kong, the people of Hong Kong had gotten used to under colonial rule, the values of the individual and the values of freedom of expression, which did have a certain amount of constraints to it, but now that's going to go away. And it's even as far as what you could do in a movie. So in the commentary by Frank Zhang, who also did a commentary on Part 1, we learned that shortly after running out of time, the two movies were produced, that there was specific directives from the government that there would be no more degrading of policemen. That was over with. And they had to be all professional, and they knew their job, because otherwise, you know, society in this kind of totalitarian world, society is going to be anxious that their police are incompetent, inept, and they are in this film. I mean, Inspector Ho is like the he's like the epitome of somebody who knows what to do, but nobody else seems to know at all what to do. And in fact, his superior, who's also in the original, as sort of a bumbling fool, is now just so broadly played and by the same actor, so farcically played, that the humor seems to get a little bit, abates a little bit the humor from the first film. But not only that, this is a Christmas film. Part two is a Christmas film, and it culminates in a Christmas festivities. So we see all the stores lit up and beautiful lights everywhere and crowds of people in the street, and we see Santa Clauses wandering and Christmas trees. And Frank Jang, this commentary is from 2022, and he said that that's almost all gone. There is no public displays, at least, of Christmas. People in their houses might do it, but stores, and they were all discouraged, so you hardly ever see any kind of Christmas, any public demonstration or illustration of Christmas anymore. So that's very palpable, I think, and it makes Hong Kong a really interesting place because of the fact that westernized people, millions of westernized people, now have to conform to the ways of the mainland, in which individual freedom and individual expression is not valued very much at all. Okay, so overall, running out of time, parts 1 and 2 are really good. The Arrow edition. There's lots of other extras besides the commentaries by Frank Jang that I mentioned. There is a commentary by the 2 French screenwriters who wrote part 1. But they were not involved in part 2, and you see it in the sense that they actually wrote a screenplay. Now Johnny To moved around with it and improvised with it, and they had to rewrite certain scenes the night before whenever they were going to be filmed. But they had that structure there at least, and I think running out of time too, it does seem really loose and shaggy doggish, and the improvisational skills of Johnny To are relied on, and he has great talent for that. So even with it not being, and I would certainly agree that part 2 is not as good as part 1, it nevertheless is a very entertaining movie. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who managed to listen. I do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. Take care.